Hey everybody, welcome to Thinking Outside the Longbox. Of course, we are in the throes of Denver Pop Culture Convention. I'm Gabe Giannis. You will be seeing other people throughout this weekend because I'm a jerk and screwed things up and have to coach roller derby all this weekend. Anyways, with us today for our first interview of the convention, we have Dacia. Dacia is the author of Apparent Power and the forthcoming sequel to Apparent Power, as well as a book of short stories that I didn't have a chance to read, but I think is for children, correct?
It is not. It's just beautiful pink.
It's just pink. Awesome. Well, thank you for being on the show. My first question, obviously, is tell us a little bit about Apparent Power and just kind of how you got started writing the book.
Oh, absolutely. So I wasn't a big reader. Up until I got a job working night shift, and it was super slow. So I'd call up my little sister, and I'd be like, "What's popular? What's a good book?" And she'd be like, "Oh, Hunger Games is like a big deal. They're making a movie." So I read all the Hunger Games. What's next? Divergent. What's next? Maze Runner. So I went through all these YA dystopian novels, and I'm like, "Great. Where's the one for adults? Where's the high action with mortgages and jobs?" And
all the awful adult things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I couldn't find it. So late night on night shift, I decided to write an adult version of Divergent, where the mom saves the world instead of the teenage girl.
Nice.
And that is Apparent Power.
So I had the opportunity to read the first chapter. It's super engaging. I'm going to bother you for the book later online.
Okay.
So there's this moment where she, the book is based around this genetic, dormant molecule that's inside of about a quarter of the population opening up. And so that first chapter is about that gene opening, and suddenly she's young and beautiful, and her husband's like, holy, 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 and things are weird from the get-go. What kind of inspired you to just start with I want to say a bang, but more appropriately a shock?
So the reason why we wake up and are young again, it has a lot to do with the metabolic science that's involved in the story. So like you mentioned, there's a dormant gene in a quarter of the population. This gene makes people absorb electricity. So with checks, there's always a check and balance. So she has an even more rare gene. Is not proper English. I write for a living, okay. So she has a rare gene, which then while you are absorbing electricity into your body, she can release it from those people. So when you release stored energy, you're releasing, this is stored energy. Your fats, your stored energy. Our aging is stored energy. So then you regress and age. No, one of the main reasons why I wanted to do this is because when I read Divergent, I joined the military at 19, so I really connected with that character Tris going through this rigorous military training as a teenager and not being the best at it. I was not the best soldier or in the best shape. So when I was writing Apparent Power, I wanted moms to not think to themselves, "Oh, I couldn't accomplish this task because I have bad knees, or I'm overweight, or I have this ailment." And so taking that away from the characters in the book also empowers the reader to connect more with the characters.
So as a former member of the military and a parent and obviously a woman, how do you feel your book speaks to the current social and kind of political climate, as well as to females in general when it comes to being empowered and creating basically a new dynamic?
So there are a few interpersonal conflicts between the main character, Valerie Russell, and male characters who might have a military background and are authorities in the military. But her as a woman, as a mother, as a nurse, she doesn't recognize that hierarchy of rank in the military. So she understands that she has this ability, and she doesn't want power, but she has power. And so there is definitely a struggle between the males, some males in the book, with their power trip over her as a woman and a civilian, but then she recognizes the need to assert herself and not let people walk on her, basically.
When, I have 4 kids, so I'm a parent, and there's like moments where I'm like, wow, I wish you guys would all go away. Like, as a parent, how in the world do you make the time or access any kind of spare time whatsoever to write?
There are early mornings and late nights and nap time, and then when they're not napping, I constantly have a notebook with me to at least map out what I'm going to write in the 5 seconds that I have time to do so. It was really difficult. I'm lucky now to have a position to where I sit at a desk all day, so when I get those 5 minutes in between tasks, I can pound out, a few pages at a time, or even a paragraph, but I'll steal it wherever I can get it. I tell you that this comes with a lot of guilt. So there's a lot of mom guilt, because if I have time to do something else, I have time to hang out with my kids. And then a lot of writer's guilt. So if I have time to take a bath, read a book, brush my hair, brush my teeth, take a shower, I have time to write. So it's really... There are times when I'm like, this week I'm going hardcore into my book, and then some things get pushed to the wayside, and then the following week I'll knock off social media, I'll turn everything off, I won't write, and I'll focus solely on my children.
Do you think being a parent and kind of putting all of the pressure and kind of guilt on yourself, do you think it makes its way into your writing?
I have not reflected on that. I think me as a perfectionist, I try to juggle all the, everything and not drop any balls. And then sometimes I do, and I take it really hard. As far as transferring that into my writing, there's only one thing in my life that you can get a rise out of me, and that is the safety of my kids. And that is in my book.
That is 100% my ex-wife and my current wife. They will murder someone for
my
their children.
nails just grew 3 inches.
It's on video. You can watch the video, but it's true. I swear. So when you're approaching these conventions and things like this, you're local, so that makes this convention significantly easier. Coming into it, there's a lot of people talking about just some of the subtler changes, with the new conventions, the convention's new name and some of the guests and things like that. How do you plan on approaching people that maybe are more interested in reading comic books or more interested in meeting a movie celebrity when you have a full-length novel?
I'm not shy. I'm not at all. So on the way here, this is early in the morning and everyone's still in line to get through to the vendor floor. I grabbed a huge stack of my bookmarks and just walked by, and I'm like, welcome to con, free stuff. I'm not shy at all. I'll approach anybody. You walk by my booth and you will get stopped.
Nice.
So I'm sorry if I'm super awkward too. So
it's literally my life. Don't worry about it. So as we're wrapping up, tell us a little bit about your sequel to Apparent Power and your other book, and how we can find you on the internet, or however, if you have a newspaper that you publish or something weird.
Absolutely. So my new book just came out Tuesday. It's called The Brightest Firefly. Back in my indie music days, I went to see a show, a Copeland show, and one of the lines in their songs was, she said that I was the brightest firefly in her jar. So my book that I just released is just a collection of writings that I've done since I started writing, which was not long ago. 4 years ago.
Nice. That's when we started doing this show.
So I have tried my hand at everything. I have written plays, I've written poetry, and poetry is not the best. But short stories, I've written nonfiction. So all these things that I have tried different points of view, through first person or third person, different genres like historical fiction, contemporary romance, science fiction, horror. I've tried all these things, and so I was really excited to put them all together and call it The Brightest Firefly, because one story is going to shine for every person, and it's always going to be a different one.
Nice.
And it's the coolest thing is like, I can't believe XYZ story, and it's always different.
Nice. That's really cool.
And then Shifting Power comes out November 5th. It is the follow-up to Apparent Power. We'll see more of Valerie Russell overcoming mom struggles, finding a new normal in this new society as a leader, finding her leadership voice, and also struggling with the unsavory parts of being a parent, like guilt and guilt.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Really quick, let everybody know how they can find you.
Oh, great. So you can find me across all platforms at Dacia M. Arnold. So daciamarnold.com. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the same.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I only got the first chapter of your book down, but I'm really excited to read the whole thing. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.